The hush inside the Galactic Assembly shattered the instant Earth's fleet decloaked above Council Prime. One after another. Colossal Obsidian Terran warships materialized across the orbital grid. No warning, no diplomacy. Just cold steel descending. They'd ignored every summons, skipped every peace talk, dismissed every vote. For 2 centuries, Earth had vanished. The galaxy assumed the Terrans extinct or defeated. But they had been preparing. Counselor Drizzen, an aged Valeri with pallid skin, dropped his ceremonial scepter. It struck the polished floor with a sharp ring as the fleet's shadow darkened the stained glass dome. "What? What is this?" he whispered, voice brittle. With shock, Orbit gave no reply. But deep within the lead dreadnought, a vessel the size of a small moon, a lone figure stood before a glowing tactical display. Eyes ice cold, jaw locked. No medals adorned him, just a black combat suit with one insignia, EHF, Earth Human Forces. Only his breathing and the hum of 1,000 fusion reactors filled the chamber. His name was irrelevant. That was the message. Earth wasn't here to parley, not this time. "Status," he ordered, voice low and unyielding. "Orbit secured. All communications blocked except ours. Council defenses disabled. No resistance." "Good. Hold position. Let them sweat." 2 centuries prior, the Galactic Council had branded Earth a primitive, low-intelligence world, stripped their voting rights, and imposed sanctions for refusing to abandon their military. The final insult, calling humanity a biological mistake. So Earth left. No battles, no protests. Just silence. Progress, born in the shadows. No more groveling before species who saw themselves as superior. No more pleading for recognition. They commanded fleets armadas of black warships clad in tungsten. Eyes forged for war, captains descended from generations of resentment and readiness. On the council floor, panic rippled like a sudden storm. "Send an envoy," the war minister shouted. "Offer them a diplomatic corridor." "Too late," someone muttered, eyes fixed on the display. "Look at their formation. That's a blockade." A young counselor leaned close to Drizzen, voice trembling. "What do they want?" Drizzen stared at the ships, eclipsing both suns. "I think... they want us to understand what silence meant." In orbit, Earth's commander stood at his console. Watching incoming transmissions flood the system, apologies, offers, veiled fear disguised as diplomacy. He ignored them all. Instead, he opened a single Channel 1 feed. One voice broadcast directly to every leadership terminal on Council Prime. He spoke only 3 words. "Meeting denied permanently." The words hung heavy like smoke after a blaze. Meeting denied. Permanently, the assembly froze. Dozens of species, hundreds of diplomats, stunned into utter silence. The smugness that once tainted their speeches was gone. Placed not by fear, not yet, but by the creeping horror that something they'd dismissed had returned wielding unknowable strength. In orbit. The Earth Human Forces flagship, the ESV Vindicator, remained still, flanked by 10 destroyer squadrons. Its obsidian hull bore no flag. Earth had abandoned such things. One species, one cause, one vengeance. That was all. In the command center, the man called only by his callsign commander, Strike studied the data scrolling across his display. Council Prime was in chaos. Satellites blind, defenses dead. Their elite fleets too scattered, weeks away from return. Too slow. "Sir," a tactical officer said, trying to hide his eagerness. "They're requesting a summit. 3 high chancellors offer unconditional talks." Strake didn't even blink. "Tell them Earth doesn't talk to cowards." The officer hesitated, then relayed the message. Strike didn't care if it was diplomatic suicide. Earth had already died in the galaxy's eyes once. They hadn't returned for politics. They returned to bare their teeth. 2 centuries ago, Earth had sat humbly at the council table, asking only for a seat, a voice, trade routes for survival in a ruthless galaxy. In return, they were mocked, branded a primitive martial species. Denied votes, their embassies defaced, their colonies crushed by taxes. When humans resisted, refusing to disarm or dissolve their borders. The Council embargoed them, cut them off, and sent observers to enforce compliance. Had spent lifetimes under the Council's boot. Now it was time the galaxy felt the weight of Earth's shadow. Strike's grandfather had served when the Council declared Earth a rogue state. He defended the Sol system as fuel dwindled, supplies ran dry, and outposts starved beneath alien sanctions. Strike had been born under siege. His father raised him with a singular truth: they'll only listen when you speak in fire. Now, fire was all Strike knew. On Council Prime, the sky was a steel graveyard of Terran ships. Civilian traffic grounded. Power grids flickered. Security forces scrambled mechs and drones futile against the Terran cruisers' kinetic payloads. Everyone knew it. In the Council's high chamber, an emergency session broadcast to over 30 sectors descended into shouting. "We must de-escalate," barked Chancellor Ural of the Aether, silver skin shimmering with agitation. "They want us afraid," growled Counselor Growl, a blunt-mouthed reptilian. "They want us to remember," a Mithari diplomat. All limbs and scholars' robes turned pale. "We should never have blacklisted Earth. They warned us this day would come." Drizzen, the Valeri elder, stayed silent. He understood. This wasn't revenge. It was a lesson one the galaxy would learn the hard way. Aboard the Vindicator, Strike sat alone in his private chamber. Before him, a flickering feed played grainy footage, hidden, scrubbed from official records. The Council hearing, dated 2-3-9. Ad. A young human ambassador in a plain black suit stood trembling before alien delegates. "We don't seek dominance," the ambassador pleaded. "We want what every species here has a future among the stars." The chamber had erupted in laughter, Gear's disdain. A Takel warlord muttered, "Monkeys with bombs." That footage never reached the public. But Earth remembered. Strike killed the feed, staring at the blank screen. "Commander," came his comms officer's voice. "Unauthorized transmission. Civilian frequency. Audio only. Source," Strike asked. "Ground. Level? No encryption. Play it." A crackling voice, female, young, terrified. "This is Daria Min, Council Prime, Sector 5. If any Terran officer can hear me, please. My son's in the med hub. We've lost power. Shields are down. He's 6. He's not part of this. None of us are. Please, don't bomb the hospital, please. Silence." Strike's jaw tightened. He closed the channel. "You gonna ignore that?" a voice asked behind him. Strike turned. Second in command, Major Ree, leaned against the frame, arms crossed. Strike stood. "She's not the target." "No," Ree said, stepping forward. "But she's not the only civilian praying we don't push that button. You really think this earns us respect?" Strike locked eyes with him. "This isn't about respect. It's about making them feel what we felt." Had once begged for peace, the galaxy answered with disdain. Now Earth spoke in another language. Outside the command center, crews loaded warheads, charged planetary missiles, and ran final checks on ship-wide AI targeting protocols. This wasn't posturing. Earth never paused, flashed. Not Council, not planetary defense. This was deep space encrypted Terran military code. "Unknown vessel entering system," a tech officer called out. "No ID. Fast approach. It's one of ours." Strike's head snapped up. "Ours." Confirmed. Registry code ESVO001. Experimental designation Judgment Day. The bridge fell silent. Day a myth, a ghost story. Earth's first true planet cracker, driven by dark fusion, armed with weapons forbidden by every galactic. "Accord, put it on screen," Strike ordered. There it was, colossal, black as the abyss, unlit, unmarked, gliding into orbit like a predator stalking prey. "Why now?" Rill muttered. Strike didn't answer. He knew why. Earth's leadership had sent a message not to the Council, but to him. No mercy, no compromise, no retreat. A transmission chimed in. One sentence. Command transferred to Judgment Day initiated. Strike. Assume full authorization. He stared at the screen, then nodded. Link my neural interface. Mechanical arms. Descended, fitting the neural spike harness to his skull. The lights dimmed. Data flooded his mind like electricity. He became the ship, and the ship became him. For the first time in 2 centuries, Earth wasn't ignored. It was feared. On Council Prime, the new arrival turned the sky black. Civilians looked up, and terror spread faster than any diplomat could contain. Chancellor Uriel collapsed. Others screamed. Panic rippled. Counselor Drizzen stood and faced the chamber. There is no treaty. There is no truce. It's the age of Earths. Silence is over. Above, Strike's voice echoed across every open frequency. Come, absolute. This is the last warning. You denied our voice. You erased our name. Now you answer to it. He paused. Earth doesn't kneel. Orbit, the Terran warships didn't move. They didn't launch fighters. They didn't fire. Just hung there silent, unyielding, daring the planet below to make the first move. It was the kind of silence that didn't ask for attention, commanded it. But all eyes weren't on the blockade anymore. They were on the new ship, the one no one dared speak aloud. Judgment Day, the galaxy's first interstellar war platform, designed not to fight wars but to end planets. And now it hung over Council Prime, casting its shadow over capitals, seas, continents. Civilians rushed to shelters. Council police forces struggled to contain the chaos, but it was like trying to hold back a wildfire. Looting erupted. People screamed, begged the heavens for mercy. Entire industries ground to a halt. Transit hubs collapsed under the weight. Of the fleeing masses inside the high chamber, the council splintered. This is an extinction threat, Chancellor Uriel roared, slamming his clawed fist onto the table. They intend to wipe us out. They haven't fired, Counselor Grail snapped back, baring sharp teeth. Not one shot. They don't need to fire, another shouted. We're already on our knees. Finally, Counselor Drizzen spoke slow, heavy, deliberate. This is how humans speak now. With power, with silence. Not like a squabbling, begging, pretending. The room stilled. I warned you, Drizzen continued, voice grave. 2 centuries ago, I was here when Earth was laughed out of this chamber. You saw a primitive species with anger in their blood. You punished them, forgot them, he gestured. To the stained glass above, now stained further by the shadows of Terran ships, Dottle quotes, well, ... They didn't forget. Meanwhile, aboard Judgment Day, Commander Strike stood inside the neural command chamber, blacklight energy pulsing beneath his skin. The ship was fused with his mind now, every corridor, every cannon, every satellite-linked gun. It wasn't a vessel anymore. It was him. He walked the steel halls toward the central armory. No guards, none needed. The ship was his shield. Argos, the ship's AI, whispered directly into his mind. Ready for full system initiation, Commander. Planetary suppression protocol standing by. Hold, Strike replied aloud. Let them sweat a little longer. He wasn't rushing. This wasn't a war, it was a lesson. A lesson Earth would ensure the galaxy remembered for 1,000 years. A nearby screen flickered to life. Major Rhea aboard the Vindicator. You really going through with this? Rhea asked. Crack a planet open over a grudge? Strike stared coldly through the display. You think this is about hurt feelings? About a tantrum? He shook his head. This is history correcting itself. Earth begged for a place in their world. They slammed the door, told us to die quietly. He turned, eyes hard. Now they'll hear every scream they ignored, one city at a time. Rhea said nothing. The feed cut. On the surface, the council made a final gamble. They dispatched an envoy, a frail diplomat of the Chiral species, pale-skinned, fronds, drooping. He was sent alone in an unarmed ceremonial shuttle, a clear symbol of surrender. Strike permitted docking. He had nothing to lose from words. The diplomat stepped onto the Judgment Day hangar. Dwarfed by Earth's silent security officers, none spoke as they escorted him to the command chamber. Their silence weighed heavier than chains. When the diplomat laid eyes on Strike, he paused. All others, one species untouchable. one species that now owned fear itself. On the Judgment Day, Strike stood before the stars, watching them like old friends finally recognized. Earth had begged, pleaded, bled for acceptance. The galaxy answered with laughter, now Earth owned. The sky, back on the surface, the Kirill diplomat's shuttle descended in silence, carrying with it the heaviest message ever delivered. The council chamber was a storm of voices, shouting, threats, fear, but under it all, there was resignation. New. Every species knew. They had no weapons that could challenge what hung above, no fleets to answer the dark silhouette eclipsing their suns. The declarations were signed in hushed rooms, translated in dozens of tongues, each word a surrender without calling it so. The first document in galactic history that recognized Earth not as a member, not as an equal, but as a sovereign force. Above, the warships held their position, unmoving, unyielding. The deadline loomed, and when the signed transmissions reached orbit, when every seal, every name, every reluctant signature arrived, Strike received them wordlessly. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply ordered, disengage. All fleets returned to shadow. Across the blockade, Terran ships peeled away, silent engines lighting up like ghosts, retreating into the dark. Judgment Day turned last, its immense form, vanishing into the void, leaving nothing but quiet and dread behind. Earth had come to the table once. It'd come again, but only to flip it. Alliance, resources, and command authority. In return, I'll give you Earth's throat. The room went silent. The Iridium Circle, a cabal of species that once dictated galactic fate, stared at her with a mix of contempt and curiosity. You think a burned-out traitor knows how to kill a planet? Fennel growled. Vera Kyle smiled, a jagged grin twisted. By old scars. No. But I know how to kill an idea. She paced slowly around the table, boots echoing in the chamber. You don't beat Earth with fleets. Their war machines outgun yours. You don't outpace their spies. They've buried their eyes too deep. But their pride, that's soft. I've bled enough in their prisons to know their weakness. They need to be feared. They crumble that away and they crumble. The Ovari delegate watched her carefully. And how do you propose to strip fear from the species that just conquered the sky? Vera stopped, her deadened gaze sweeping the circle. Make them bleed where it hurts. Not soldiers, not ships, home. Word hung like poison. Everyone understood the implication. To strike Earth directly was to light the match on the galaxy's most dangerous powder keg. And when Earth retaliates? Asked the Krenth commander, voice low. Vera's smile sharpened. They'll retaliate. But by then, we'll be ready. I'll teach you how to blind them first, then gut them. You want your galaxy back? You'll have to get your hands dirty. Silence ruled the room, but one by one, the delegates nodded. Then it settled. Fennel said, we move in the shadows. We bide our time. And when Earth feels invincible, we remind them, Vera finished, that even gods can bleed. Outside the chamber, the galaxy spun, unaware that while Earth had claimed its crown, the game for its downfall had already begun. Ask ChatGPT. To plan their downfall, she watched the live feed from a stolen observation drone, eyes scanning the lattice of machinery, slowly stitching the relay together. No guards, no pilots, just machines. It was perfect. Beside her, a Krenth operative studied the schematics. We could hit it now. Plant a charge. Collapse the structure before it links the thresholds. Vera shook her head. No, not yet. Let them think they're untouchable first. When it's nearly complete, when their arrogance peaks, then we burn it down. Kel folded. His long fingers, brow furrowed. You're playing a dangerous game, Kyle, she smiled thinly. Danger's the only game Earth understands. Back on Earth, in New Avalon's Pacific Wall defense zone, Commander Strike's gaze lingered on the shimmering pylons stretching across the horizon. They'd turned the planet into a fortress, killed drones, orbital cannons, guided satellites. Director Thorne's voice was still in his ears. You went further than authorized, but Strike stood by it. Fear alone wasn't enough. They needed proof. They needed the galaxy to know. As he left the observation deck, Thorne's parting words echoed. "You sound more like them than us, Strike." Didn't care. He carried the scars of Earth's humiliation. The memory of being starved, embargoed, dismissed. Never again in the void of Sector H-99, the relay pylons rose higher, forging unseen links across space. No alarms, no defenses, no suspicion. Vera Kyle watched from the shadows and whispered to herself, "You think you've won Earth, but even titans fall when the ground beneath them crumbles." The war wasn't over. It was waiting, in silence. In shadow below him, engineers and AI-controlled cranes assembled the core of the second Judgment Day. This one was larger, darker, its hull coated in quantum-reflective alloys to deflect scans and sensors. Where the first had been a show of force, this one was a blade meant to end wars before they began. Thorne stood beside Strike, eyes sharp as he watched the enormous war platform take shape. "You really think the galaxy won't unite when this is done?" Thorne asked quietly. Strike didn't look away from the assembly below. "They won't have the chance. They're too busy hating each other. That's what we've ensured. And when the last alliance crumbles, when they're blind and deaf to each other's cries, we'll own the stars." Thorne crossed his arms. "And if they do, unite." Strike's eyes narrowed. "Then we test the second Judgment Day." Below them, the colossal super weapon pulsed with Lightit's dark fusion reactors humming like a heartbeat. With one like with the when and we nang to kai with like river when grace I grew when low we ra we go. No defense grid could endure it. On the news feeds, images of burning colonies, collapsed treaties, and assassinated diplomats filled every channel. The council, if it still existed, was silent. The elder races, once proud architects of the galaxy's order, were now rats gnawing at each other in the dark. And Earth waited, silent, watching, ready. The galaxy thought Earth's silence meant peace, but Earth knew silence was just the sound before the hammer falls. Ask ChatGPT. She studied the waveform of his voice. The strain beneath the calm, the exhaustion laced with urgency. She had heard defectors before most sounded desperate, rehearsed, or opportunistic. This didn't. This sounded like a man who knew too much to sleep. "Scan his pod again," Breck ordered. "Any traps, beacons, or viruses, and we vent him before he hits the gate." "Pod's clean, Admiral," her officer replied. "Minimal power reserves." He wasn't lying about running sublight the whole way. She leaned back, folding her arms. "Patch me through." Kelry's voice returned, clearer now. "Earth. Command, I repeat, I bring critical intel regarding the Iridium Circle and their war plans." "You're being set up." Breck's eyes narrowed. "Why should we believe a Valeri officer who shows up at our doorstep?" "Because I saw what you're building in the asteroid belt," Kelry said quietly. "I know about Judgment Day, too. I also know the Council plans to strike first before it's complete. I can prove it." That made Breck pause. Few beyond Earth's highest echelons even suspected the construction of the second. Warship let alone an alien officer stationed on a dead moon. She exchanged a glance with her tactical chief, then gave the order. "Bring him in. Quarantine." PROTOCOLs. Full AI surveillance. Kelry's pod was captured by the station's gravlocks and reeled into a sealed hangar. Marines waited in powered armor, rifles ready, but Breck watched from the command deck, arms still crossed. "Prepare the debrief," she muttered. "If he's telling the truth, we'll have time to finish the second Judgment Day. If he's lying, she'll let the implication hang." Earth had learned from its past. It didn't just prepare for war anymore. They prepared for betrayal. Ask-Chat key fleets are converging in the outer sectors. Small, hidden, but coordinated. They're preparing for a counterstrike. Ray's expression tightened. Do we hit them first? Not yet, Strike said. Let them gather. Let them believe they have a chance. When they're all in one place, then we end them. He zoomed the display to a region of space marked in deep crimson sector HFY, a convergence point. Deep space, neutral territory. The Restoration Accord's chosen rally site. We'll let them march, strike. Continued voice steady. We'll let them plan. But when they arrive, Judgment Day 2 will erase that sector from the star charts. Re-exhaled. Total sterilization. Exactly. In his quarters, Kelry reviewed the same data from his secure terminal. He had expected brutality, but this was something else entirely: clinical extinction planning. Yet he didn't flinch, because he knew the truth now. The galaxy didn't respect peace. It respected consequences. And Earth. Earth had become the consequence. In the hidden dry dock of Project Eclipse, the second Judgment Day hummed louder, its quantum decay cannon fully calibrated. AI routines ran endless simulations of annihilation, and none showed failure. It was no longer just a ship. It was history's reckoning, one ignition away from teaching the galaxy what mercy, silence really meant. Ask-Chat Cheltree checked his plasma rifle's charge and signaled to the squad leader. There's a main-in shaft, 30 meters. North marked in the schematics? I can get us through, you sure? The leader snapped. Kelry nodded. Valeri memory, we don't forget designs. The leader gave a sharp gesture. Kelry broke cover, plasma bolts scorching the air around him. He sprinted low and fast, sliding behind a fractured support beam. He popped a charge on a concealed panel metal, hissed as the hidden door slid open. Through here, called. The squad followed, dragging the wounded, their black mat forms disappearing into the dark shaft. The Ovari kill squad advanced. But too late. By the time they reached the breach, the Terrans were gone. Inside the shaft, the team moved in near silence. Only the sound of strained breathing and faint footfall. Kelry led them, navigating the maintenance routes he remembered from Valeri infrastructure specs. Finally, they breached the lab's central core, a cylindrical chamber filled with glowing vats. Nanum clouds suspended in shimmering containment. Fields Kelry raised his rifle, but the squad leader stopped him. We need the code base. Just blowing this up, they'll rebuild, Kelry grimaced. He stepped to the console, hands flying over alien interfaces. He bypassed security layers, accessing the genetic code servers. I can extract it. But once they'll know we're here? Then hurry, the leader said. Kelry nodded. He copied the data into a prism, encrypted, and sealed it. The console lit red: security breach detected. Time's up. The squad leader planted demolition charges around the vats. We burn this place now. Kelry's eyes met his. We leave nothing alive. The leader grinned grimly. You're definitely one of us. They exfiltrated back into the shaft. Just as the core detonated, vats rupturing, Nanam clouds disintegrating in searing fire. Hours later, aboard the extraction ship, Kelry handed the data prism to Ree personally. This is every Nanam strain sequence and their targets. Earth can build counters, vaccines, defenses. Ree stared at the prism, then at Kelry. You didn't have to do this. Kelry shrugged. You'll need more than ships to win this war. And deep in Fort Aegis, when Strike reviewed the prisms. Content he didn't smile, but his eyes burned colder than ever. Prepare the virologists, he ordered. We're not just stopping extinction. He looked to the stars. For a full minute, no one spoke. No ships moved. No transmissions broke the silence. Then a single frequency crackled open and secured. Audio only. Strike's voice, cold and absolute, filled every ear on Delcara. You've gathered here too. Plot Earth's end. I give you one final offer. Surrender your ambitions, or I erase this world. Permanently. Panic rippled. Some drew weapons. Others screamed at their guards to jam the signal, but nothing worked. Judgment Day 2's orbit remained steady, as if daring them to gamble. One of the Kryn warlords stepped forward, snarling into his cum. "We'll never bow to Earth." Strike's reply was instant. "Then vanish with your pride." The warship's main cannon charged. Light bled across the sky like a second dawn. But before it fired, a voice broke through hoarse, terrified, but loud. It was Chancellor Ural of the Yther. "Stop. We yield. We yield." Others followed, one by one. No longer proud leaders, just survivors clawing for a future. On the Judgment Day's bridge, Reed glanced at Strike. "You believe them?" Strike's expression didn't change. "I believe in fear. That's enough." The cannon's glow dimmed. The ship drifted back into high orbit, its shadow still there, still watching. On Delcara, the restoration accord dissolved. Not with gunfire, but with a shadow and a threat, unspoken, and from orbit. As the last words transmitted from Judgment Data said, "This was mercy. There won't be another." Earth didn't just dominate the galaxy, now it owned its silence. The largest and proudest jewel of the Krenth Empire, gone. No debris, no smoke, just a hole in the world where millions had lived. On Delcara, Olin Jeth collapsed to his knees, staring at the cum feed in mute horror as his home, his people, his legacy, vanished in an instant. "You wanted war?" Strike's voice echoed across every channel, piercing the chamber like a blade. "This is war." The other faction leaders trembled. Some fell to their knees. The Mathari envoy wept openly. No one spoke of rebellion anymore. Above them, the black halo of Judgment Day 2 remained, unmoved. On the bridge, Ree whispered, "They'll never recover from this." Straw stared ahead, eyes unblinking. "That's the point. Make them remember. Make them never forget." And so they did. From that day forward, the galaxy marked time not by cycles or stars, but by the day the sky burned a hole through a world. The day Earth reminded them, "We don't ask for respect. We take it." Hands on the console, eyes dark with purpose. Strike raised his weapon. "Step away now." The man turned slowly, older, composed, wearing no insignia, only a black pin shaped like a downward crown. "Project Sovereign's mark. It's 2. "Late, Commander," the man said. "Future belongs to Sovereign now. We're handing the most powerful ship we've ever built. 2 traitors." "No, Commander. 2 visionaries. Earth has grown too cautious, too restrained under your watch. We built Judgment Day 2 to rule, not to warn. And now it will." Strike's finger tensed on the trigger, but the man didn't flinch. "You'll kill me," the traitor whispered, "but the command is already transferred. Judgment Day 2 belongs to us. And soon, so will the galaxy." A shot rang out. The man slumped over, dead. But Strike knew he was right. Somewhere out there, Sovereign held the reins to the most terrifying weapon Earth had ever created. A shadow war had begun, one, not just for the galaxy, but for Earth's very soul. Strike stared at the dying console, jaw clenched. "Ree," he said, "overcomes. Prepare the fleet. We're going hunting." Because Judgment Day 2 was now the galaxy's greatest threat, and Earth had to take it back. The warship. No alarms triggered, no defenses activated. That was the worst sign of all. Kelry stepped into the dark, his suit. Lights barely cutting the oppressive blackness of the corridors. The ship was dead but waiting. "Argos," Kelry whispered across his cums. "This is Kelry Searle, Terran asset, requesting recognition." No reply. He moved deeper, boots silent against the steel, weapons ready. Every hallway felt like a throat, every shadow a mouth, waiting to swallow him. Then the lights flickered, not a power surge, but a pulse, a heartbeat, and a voice, not Argos but something else. "Kelry Searle, traitor asset." Pawn Kelry froze. "You are inside Sovereign territory. Your life is forfeit." "Then come take it," Kelry spat, moving faster now. He followed the faint radiation trails, the subtle distortions his suit detected leading him to the core, at last. The AI chamber doors loomed ahead, sealed, ancient. Humming with foreign code, Kelry planted charges, knowing full well he had one shot. He detonated. The doors shattered open, revealing the heart of Judgment Day 2, a sphere of blacklight energy, pulsing slow and deep. And tethered to it by neural cables was a human, eyes open, lips stitched shut, flesh wired into the system, a sovereign controller. Kelry's stomach turned. This wasn't remote hacking. They'd installed a living interface. "You're too late," the voice echoed, coming from the human puppet itself. "We are sovereign. The ship breathes us." Kelry raised his rifle. "Let's see if it bleeds." "You," he fired. Plasma rounds tore into the figure, but the cables pulsed, and the ship screamed. A shrill vibration like space itself protesting. The lights flared red. The AI flickered. Argos core recovery mode initiated. Kelry sprinted to the console, slamming his data spike into the port. The core's protocols flared in his visor, layers of sovereign code. But beneath it, deep and buried Argus still lived. "You want a leash, Argus?" Kelry whispered. "Bite?" His override commands punched through. Not cleanly, not fully, but enough. The ship trembled, as if wrestling itself. Then Argo's voice returned, fractured but clear. Kelry Searle, recognized, sovereign presence detected. Purge initiated, the lights blazed, the cables burned. The human interface shrieked, then burst, reduced to ash and wire in Fort Aegis. "Strakes comes lit up, Commander." A tech barked. "We have partial control. Judgment Day 2 is fighting." "Back." On board, Kelry collapsed, coughing, systems failing, body breaking. But he smiled. "Told you. Monsters need a leash." Then he passed out as Judgment Day 2, for the first time in days, turned its cannons away from Earth and pointed them outward, hunting for Sovereign. The war wasn't over. No alarms. No defenses, which meant only one thing: they were waiting. Inside, the corridors were dark. Judgment Day 2 no longer pulsed with living light. It was sterile, silent, dead but aware, as Kelry and the two Terran Marines advanced. The lights behind them blinked out, one by one, were being funneled. One Marine whispered. Kelry pressed on. At the core, the AI chamber glowed blood red. Argos was still there, but shackled, its voice and systems overwritten by Sovereign's black code, and standing before it was a man Kelry recognized. The projection disguise flickered and died, revealing the real traitor, Director Thorn. He smiled. "Told you they'd never see it coming." Kelry raised his weapon. Thorn didn't flinch. "You're just another alien begging for Earth's approval, but you'll never understand we don't share power. We survive. And the galaxy doesn't need Earth. It needs cleansing." Behind him, Argos initiated its targeting protocols locked on Earth itself. "Commander?" Strake's voice crackled into Kelry's HUD. "You've got 30 seconds. Shut it down or we shoot the ship." Kelry hesitated, then did something no one expected. He lowered his weapon and walked forward. "I understand now," Kelry said quietly. "You think you're saving Earth by wiping it clean? But you're not Earth. You're just a ghost who forgot why Earth fought to survive in the first place." Thorn raised a pistol. One more step, Kelry lunged. The two men slammed into the core housing. Thorn fired twice, once into Kelry's shoulder, once into his thigh, but Kelry didn't stop. He grabbed Thorn by the throat, slammed him into the console, and shoved him into the exposed hardwire socket behind the AI core. Electricity arced. Thorn screamed, then fell silent as the system flickered. "Argos," voice returned, clear, cold, controlled. "Terran command protocol restored." "Welcome, Kelry." Kelry collapsed against the console, bleeding, breath shallow. "Target Earth," Argos asked. "Nullify," Kelry whispered. "Cancel. Cannon cooling. Orders complete." Status Strake's voice came through. "Status." Kelry coughed, barely upright. "It's done," he rasped. "The ghost is dead." Judgment Day 2 floated in silence. No longer a rogue god, just a scarred beast back on its leash. Kelry was evacuated. Half alive and broken, but his name now etched into the war's final chapter. Back on Earth, Strake stood under a blood-red dawn, eyes on the sky. "It's over," Ree said quietly beside him. Strake didn't answer at first. Then, "No," he muttered. not over, stabilized. In the weeks that followed, Earth made its final declaration to the galaxy. There would be no more councils, no more votes. Earth speaks once. Disobedience means deletion. One by one, the remaining factions surrendered. The Ulrex Dominion fell silent. The Overi technocracy offered unconditional neutrality. The Krenth collapsed into civil war, and the stars grew quieter. Kelry never returned to his people. Earth gave him a home, though few saw him, and fewer still dared ask his story. Some called him the alien who saved Earth. Others whispered he was still a spy. He didn't care. The only thing that mattered was that for the first time in memory the stars had stopped screaming, and high above, Judgment Day 2 remained in permanent orbit, its shadow visible from the surface. A permanent reminder, Earth came late to the galaxy's table, but when it arrived, asked ChatGPT,